Hello, all you hardcore boxing fans out there. How are you doing? It's Russ here from Porky's Corner. You know, don't you? You know. That's why you've tuned in. Today, I'm joined by my good friend from London, Terry. How are you doing, Terry?
Mate, I'm good, man. Weather's good. So training's up. You know, once Boris told us the gyms could open from April, we're all upping the workouts now, Porky. You know what I mean? Trying to get the abs in order.
Yeah. You're getting...
Mate, quick question.
Yeah.
How's your trim looking so fresh if all the barbershops are closed?
I've just had a grade none all over this morning in Bath.
That is looking crispy, mate. That is looking crispy.
I was going to wait for hairdressers, and I thought, you know what? I've got no hair anyway. I've no hair since I was 30, so I might as well just whip it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, mate. You sure you're not auditioning for Right Said Fred?
Yeah, hopefully, mate. Hopefully, I can imagine me and Dominic Ingle.
Phil and Grant Mitchell.
Yeah, Right Said Porky. Before we start, that's decent. Obviously, there's one for me and there's one for competition. They're both the same, as you can see. But sadly, what they've sent is it's going to have to be XXL. There's no different sizes for these. This is just how they've come, summer collection. But so I'm going to wet out.
It's just for the big guys, man. You can't be on here if you can't be no flyweight. You know, you can't be a flyweight in this game.
Now they're the ones with zips on, the tennis tops. So I'm gonna auction one off for a competition today. And I'm gonna let you, Terry, pick the question. And the first person who gets the question right to porkycorner@mail.com, not the comments on YouTube, Porky Corner. Girl here will deal with it and post it. So if you want to pick the question, feel free.
Okay. Name the most recent British boxer to win every available belt going.
He's no British boxer to win every belt. The most recent?
Yeah.
Ooh. Is that from area English, British, Commonwealth, European, and any of the 5 world titles?
Yeah.
Right. Right. Okay, then. That's a good one. They'll have to get on the box recs to check that, won't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know. Good question. Answers on a postcard to porkycorner@mail.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment.
You've been working on that right hand, Porky. I like that. And that was all knuckle. No finger, all knuckle.
Yeah, you know. Right, I want to back up a little bit. We spoke about the Warrington loss, didn't we? Now that you've had time to reflect on it, who do you think's at fault, and could it have been handled a bit better?
That's a tricky one. So who's at fault? I think everyone's at fault. I think Team Warrington are at fault for taking this Lara kid lightly. My rule is don't agree to a fight with someone you haven't seen. And I struggle to find any video footage of Mauricio Lara, Porky. So I don't know what they were able to see. I mean, it's always risky when you haven't seen someone before, and especially when they're coming from somewhere like Mexico City, which has got a fighting legacy. But like I said before, but it's also 7,500 feet above sea level. You're dealing with a different animal.
Yeah.
And remember, he'd been active as well.
Yeah, he had, Do you think that, well, it's been said to me that Matchroom didn't really care because they had options on Winner. You know, they had options on Lara. They signed him now, aren't they? So it's been said to me that they weren't bothered. They shrugged it off. I mean, nobody looked devastated like when AJ got beat, did they? Do you know what I mean?
Well, but when AJ gets beat, that's half your revenue gone, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, with Warrington, it's and until there are crowds, Warrington's just an overhead to them. We talked about this before, Russ. Warrington's an expensive guy to keep when there are no crowds.
Yeah.
So actually, Lara might have done them a favor because now Warrington's got a natural fight for Ellen Road, which is the rematch with Lara. And if he loses that, Lara's a legitimate star. So Matchroom never lose. This is the problem with promoters. Promoters rarely ever lose, especially once they put options in the contract. They're not invested in either side. They just made the best man win. They don't care.
Yeah, it's it's a tight spot that they're in now, isn't it? Because I mean, when have we heard this before? Who was the last person to give a world title up? Was it Joe Calzaghe? The last person to vacate all them years ago? Carl Froch. Carl Froch vacated, didn't he, the IBF, but he retired, didn't he? So
Fury vacated.
Who did?
Fury vacated he was stripped of the IBF. He vacated the WBA, and I think he vacated the WBO.
Yeah, you're probably right, yeah. But he hadn't lost, has he? And Josh Warrington's not only vacated, but he lost, didn't he?
So here's the thing. This is why it pulls me in 3 or 4 different ways, Paul. We say we want to see our British guys in meaningful fights, right?
Yeah.
And so Warrington was in a meaningful fight and he lost. I'm okay with that. But it has to make sense. Like, you have to... I was having this conversation last night, Russ. How many times did Ali fight? Let's say Ali fought about 70 times, right?
Yeah.
70, 75, somewhere around there. Yeah.
I don't think it's that much. I think is it about 56? I don't know.
It'd be more.
Is it 60? All right, then yeah, go on. Yeah.
It's a big number relative to today's boxers.
Yeah.
But if you think of the fights you remember of Ali, you probably remember about 12 of them, 12 to 15 fights that made him the man he is, right?
Yeah.
So there's about 40 fights we don't know about and we don't care about.
Yeah.
And we've forgotten that in boxing. So I'd rather Warrington had fought someone like a Ryan Walsh or a Jazza Dickens. I'd rather that would have happened. And then you give me someone like Lara. At least you've given Warrington a chance to warm up against the guy that we know.
Yeah.
I just think it was just handled badly from a business perspective from top to bottom.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think about Warrington's performance? Do you think he just got caught and couldn't recover?
No. Nothing in Warrington's performance is out of the ordinary. He wasn't particularly amazing. He wasn't particularly bad. Similar punch output to what he had against Gallagher. Not that much different to what he had against Selby. He was moving exactly the same number of times per round.
Yeah.
It's just that this kid, Lara, knew his way around the ring. And I think what these Mexican kids do that British guys aren't used to is we place a lot of importance on the jab and we go, you need the jab to bust someone up and so forth. Whereas the Mexicans, the jab's kind of like it's like an elephant's trunk. It does loads of different things. But what Mexicans love to do is to bring that left uppercut into play. So they might jab you to blind you and then throw a left uppercut straight up the middle. And British boxers aren't used to that. Warrington was definitely not used to that. He wasn't used to being caught with that many uppercuts. He wasn't used to someone being intelligent enough to come with 2 hooks and then attack the middle. And all these things had Warrington confused. And I think when you've been out the ring for a long time and you've got a kid who's been active, who's clearly in shape and knew what he was doing in the ring, it starts to sap your confidence, because what happens is you try and outbox the kid. Doesn't work. Then you try and outman the kid. Doesn't work. Then you try and go to war with the kid. Doesn't work. And then you almost check out. And we'll talk about Josh Kelly in a second, because it's a similar idea there.
Yeah.
Warrington wasn't bad on the night. He just wasn't ready for what was in front of him.
Yeah. All right, what next for Josh Warrington? They've got the rematch signed and sealed, and do you think they'll go for that, or do you think the rumours doing the rounds that if the Fury fight doesn't happen, Joshua's now friends with Warrington, they'll fight in China against Kanzu, and Harper will fight the Korean girl, which is from the same sort of management team, is it, as Kanzu, or the link to them? Do you think that'll happen?
Nah, I think that's just people playing clever PR and trying to associate Josh Warrington's name with the biggest name in British boxing right now. So I can see why you would do that. You know, I'd do that for my fighter too. Warrington has to deal with Lara, because we need to know how good. We either need to know how good what Lara is or how good Warrington is, and this is a chance to find out. As for Joshua, we already know Russ, the Fury fight ain't happening.
Yeah. Do you feel, Terry, that Josh Warrington maybe overachieved and he got fights at the right time, and he was navigated through choppy waters excellently by Steve Ward, obviously Sean O'Hagan, Nick Manners, all the way through, do you think? And Frank Warren as well.
There are elements of that. So I don't want to say he just got lucky, because as we saw from Lee Selby against George Kambosos, there's still life in Selby. And I imagine when we see Frampton versus Herring, we'll still see that there's life in Frampton.
Yeah.
What I think is, with Warrington, he's always been the underdog because people can't understand why he's so good. So all of his opponents think he got lucky to get to where he is. And so they treat him that way. And then they get found out because once he starts unleashing the combinations, you saw Frampton. Frampton's like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Selby was equally uncomfortable. Even going back to guys like Joe Brunker and so forth, he just sets about you. I think he fought Dennis Chalin as well.
Yeah.
He just sets about you. But the thing with that approach is, it's good against relatively limited guys. But against people who know their way around the ring, they're going to hit you halfway through your combination. And so he was taking punishment in this Lara fight that I don't think anyone had ever dished out to him before.
Yeah, it's a shock, isn't it? When you're used to running over people, and then all of a sudden you come up against somebody that you can't budge. I think it's a shock, isn't it, to the system, Terry?
So think about Warrington's greatest attribute, Porky, right? It's his fitness, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you know this because you're an athletics fan, right?
Yeah.
Do you really think you're going to get fitter than a kid who grew up in Mexico City?
No, because they fight at altitude. Sorry, they train at altitude, don't they?
Yeah, they train and they live at altitude. So he's genetically adapted to being at altitude. And
what you need to remember is the world long jump record were held for, I don't know, years, from 1968. Bob Beeman. And Carl Lewis broke it, didn't he, eventually? And then somebody else broke it after him. But
no, I don't think Carl did. I think it might have been Mike Powell.
Yeah, they had like a head-to-head, didn't they? And there was some back and forward record. It was like an inch apart and all that. But that was not at altitude, it was at sea level, wasn't it?
And remember, they were trying to get some of those records removed because they were saying, look, you can't have world records set at altitude. It's not fair.
Well, Calvin Smith held world record for years, 9.93 at altitude, didn't he?
Yeah. Was he the first one to set it below 10? Probably was.
I'm not sure about that, but he were 9.93 for ages, and he had an A next to it in Guinness Book of Records because I remember reading it back in the day.
And then who beat him? Was it?
I'm not sure.
Was it Lewis?
I know Carl. Go on, sorry.
Because the big ones at the time, so before '88, the big runners at the time were Calvin, Carl, and Benn. Yeah,
but if you remember, going back to the 1980 Olympics, the Americans boycotted it, and Alan Wells won the gold medal in 10:24. But Carl Lewis were in a college tournament in America at the time, and he would have won gold with what he were running then in 1980 as a kid.
That's mad, isn't it? And
that's crazy.
Interesting trivia. I used to do sprint training with Anna Wells's wife, Margot, at Guildford Spectrum.
Oh, yeah. She's a trainer, isn't she?
Yeah.
Small world, isn't it, Terry? Right.
Yes.
Getting back to the Lara kid, obviously he's a fit kid. He can do the rounds, and he's training at altitude. Is Canelo training at that level as well, altitude? Yeah.
I don't think Canelo's from Mexico City. He's from Guadalajara, so he might not.
Yeah. Well, it's a tough fight for Warrington in the Lara rematch, and I'm not so sure they're going to take that. I think they might go a different route because if they take that and lose, there's no belt online, and it's basically Skid Row, isn't it, for him? They'd have to come back to. Sorry, he'd have to go back to the drawing board, and I think what had happened then, he'd probably end up a gatekeeper, wouldn't he? And selling tickets with crowds back and all that. They've got to be careful what they do with Warrington now because mistakes have been made since his last fight with Frank Warren across the board from everybody, haven't they? But if Frank Warren couldn't deliver for him, surely they must have realised that Eddie Hearn wouldn't be able to deliver because Frank couldn't deliver for Billy Joe or Liam Smith, and then he put to a certain extent. Then they went to Eddie and they couldn't get what they wanted, could they?
You're spot on. If I was advising Warrington, I'd say start looking at probably £130. I'd start looking at Super Feather, and I'd start looking for those interesting fights. I know Burchell just lost to Oscar Valdez, but Warrington versus Burchell looks like a good fight. But maybe not immediately. Give Josh a little tune-up fight just so he can get his confidence back and get his rhythm back. And then someone like a Burchett would make sense. But I can see Hearn putting him in with someone like Tevin Farmer, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right. So if you don't fight Lara, who do you think Josh would fight then in UK and Leeds?
Someone like a Jazza Dickens, maybe a Walsh, something like that.
Yeah,
because you don't want a name that's too big, but you want a name that is. It might not be Ellen Road worthy, but maybe something that you could sell out the First Direct Arena with.
Do you feel that Gallagher against Dickens is a dog with fleas?
Yeah. I don't mind Jazza actually. It's more Kid Galahad. Like, I know people say the aim is to hit and not get hit, but at some point you got to entertain. And my issue with Kid Galahad is, as talented as he is, he doesn't entertain enough.
No, not for me. He don't do it for me at all. At all. And I know for a fact that, well, we know, don't we? Nobody were interested in a world title fight between two so-called Brits. Well, is Gallagher Brit or is he from Yemen or something? Well, either way, he's British passport. Two Brits going at it, and no promoters wanted it. Hardly. That's craziness, isn't it?
That's embarrassing. Do we know who won the bid for that?
Yeah, the first bid were won by Al Heyman, apparently, $50,000, $37,500 to Warrington, $12,500 to Gallagher. So Warrington's gone, oh, I'm vacating. Instead of calling the bluffs and saying, yeah, you can fight me for $12,500, and then you've had two bites at cherry, you've been beat, get it back at Q. That's what, in my opinion, Warrington should have done. He should have bit the bullet. He vacated, then it's redone as a purse bid for Dickens Gallagher, the next in line, the number one and number two, and that were $202,500 the bid. So they get $101,000 and 250 quid in dollars each, and that's MTK.
Wow. But MTK won't make that money back on that fight. No way.
No, not a chance. There's no ticket. They wouldn't sell tickets anyway for that, would they? Even if there were crowds allowed back. So
it probably would in Liverpool.
So who was it who told Heyman's lot? Who got the message to them to say no TV are interested in it, for them to put such a low bid in? Because that's the lowest bid they've ever bid in their history. In PBC's history, that's the lowest they've ever bid. And it's the joint lowest bid to ever be put in for a title fight since the Lamont Peterson one and, help me out, the Gary Shaw won it, didn't he? The bid, do you remember a couple of years ago?
Not Evanescence. Who else did Peterson fight for a title?
It was $50,000. It was Peterson against somebody else. And you'd have to check on your thing. But that was the lowest they had to fight. But because Gary Shaw pinched it, didn't he? But nobody were interested in it. If TV don't want to know, you're knackered, aren't you? You got to rely on Gate. They got TV for it, obviously, but I think when it's 50,000, it's a lack of respect for what the fighters have achieved. I mean, you can put your effort in to get to that mandatory slot, Terry. Then you get there, and you're fighting for chump change, aren't you? If you don't entertain. Now, that should have been something logged in Galahad's brain. Do you know what? People don't like my style. Look what they're bidding for my fight. Because Warrington's an exciting fighter, isn't he? But Galahad stinks it out, doesn't he? He stays out range, or he comes up close and hugs you. And it's a messy affair, isn't it?
It's not a fight I'd enjoy watching. And I thought the Al Heyman thing was interesting because you say, well, what was Al going to do with that event? Yeah. Unless Al's looking at a UK TV play.
Yeah.
So if you imagine you're Al Heyman, you go, right, I'll bid 50 grand for this. We know we can't put it on Frank's because Frank's with Bob. You know we can't put it up with Eddie because Eddie's with DAZN. Would he have put that on Channel 5 with Hennessy? And is that where we're headed? Are we headed to Al Heyman and Mick Hennessy?
I don't know. I don't think Richard Poxon's doing much with Al Heyman at the moment with that ITV thing. Maybe he's seen through him, Al Heyman, and thought, do you know what? He's at his depth in.
Didn't Heyman do his last show on Channel 5?
I'm not sure. I think he did, yeah. I think he did. I'm not sure.
Boxing fans, keep an eye out on this. I can see Al saying to himself, if I'm going to put my fights on UK TV and I'm not going to make a load of money, I may as well build my stars by going on Channel 5 because I'm going to get the biggest audience, full stop.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, Matt. That's a good point. All right, then, moving on from Warrington and Gallagher and Dickens and Lara and all that. Let's forward to the Josh Kelly show. Josh Kelly against David Evanesian. You had David Evanesian to win. I had him to win, but to get job done points, so I got that wrong. What do you think about the whole scenario? He's had 10 wins and then he's in that sort of fight. Do you think it's similar to the Carl Thompson, David A situation where he'd had 10 wins? And what do you think?
It's this Adam Booth conundrum, isn't it? Like, his guys never look prepared for the top level. And you and I've had this chat before, Russ, where I've asked the question, I've gone, did David underachieve with Adam? I think he did. I think with a more experienced trainer who understood the game better, I think David would have probably done a lot more as a cruiserweight and would have done a lot more as a professional heavyweight. Just my opinion, before people jump on me in the comments. I think with another guy, he would have done. And I base that on the fact that people who knew David from when he was young, and that includes his brother, they just say Adam added nothing to his game. He made him fitter, made him stronger, but added nothing to his game. David was doing all of that stuff before he met Adam.
Wow.
So that's one of the problems. You could say the same about George as well. Really, if you ask George Groves how he'd like to box, you see what he did in the middle rounds of the Carl Froch fight. That's what George loves. Yeah, let's have a tear up. That's George Groves. That's what he enjoys. That's what gets the best out of him. But Adam had other ideas. Let's not forget, whatever Adam Booth's methods were, Ryan Burnett ended up with a broken back, and he wasn't the first Booth guy to end up with a broken back. So we start to ask these questions, and then you see Josh Kelly, and like I said, Russ, remember, December 7th, we were out. 2018, you and I were out, and we were talking to you-know-who, and we were talking about the Kelly fight. And I remember we were having a curry at the time, and I said, there's no version of Josh Kelly that beats any version of David Evanesian. And I just said, and I gave my reason as this. Josh Kelly learned all the flash stuff he does, and he never learned how to box properly. He never learned how to box properly. He never learned how to understand tactics and psychology within that ring. And it doesn't look like Adam's done anything to improve that since he turned over. And you know what happens, Russ? Trainers fall in love with what a fighter does, and they forget to teach a fighter what he needs. And Josh Kelly needed someone to say, mate, sometimes you got to just put the flash stuff to the side, cover up, take a few shots on the arms, a few shots on the gloves, a few on the shoulders, while you work out what this guy does well, and then you just start to unpick him. That's all he needed to do in that fight. I'm not saying he would have won. He'd have definitely seen it a lot longer than he did, because once I saw him doing all the slick stuff in the first 2 or 3 rounds, I said, you can't do this for 6 rounds, man. You'll be done.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. And you got to blame the trainer for that. Josh hasn't had the right kind of boxing education as far as I'm concerned. And not only that, Avanesian's a guy who he's not out of place at world level. I'm not saying he'd hold the belt for a long time, but if he fought for a belt like Luke Campbell does, you wouldn't be upset and you wouldn't be surprised. And Josh Kelly hasn't done anything to show us he's at that level. And he got found out. And it's not necessarily that he lost. I don't mind someone losing. It's that he never really looked like he was going to win that fight. That's why the towel went in.
Yeah, and what next for Josh Kelly now? Does he leave Adam Booth? Because Adam manages him, doesn't he?
So here's the problem. From what I've heard from the streets and the wind blowing south from Wembley, there were a lot of problems in the camp. There were problems in the build-up to the fight. And, I know people want to talk about the Neil Marsh incident. I'm not even talking about that. Like, Josh has had a lot of problems in the build-up to this fight. And I think what he probably needs is a break and a chance to... I think he just needs to fall back in love with boxing again.
Yeah.
And maybe Adam's not the guy to do that with. But that doesn't mean he needs to leave Adam. Maybe he needs to spend some time with someone else who might be connected to Adam and see what happens from there.
You think they might just need a break to collect the thoughts? Because we haven't heard anything from Adam Booth yet, have we?
Well, Adam's always vocal when he has to talk about other people's business, and then he disappears when it's time to talk about his own. It's been the way he's done things his whole career. So I'm not surprised. I think the truth hurts in his case, and the truth is he keeps getting found wanting at the top level, and I'm sure that must hurt him.
Do you feel that Adam Booth's had some unnecessary flack in the last few days, considering what he's achieved? Because isn't he built up as like some superstar trainer who's a technician and all that?
I remember someone once saying, "Go to Adam Booth."
Yeah, Ultratech Sports Raw YouTube. He's the guy who started that off.
Go to Adam Booth.
Go to Adam Booth. He's the best. Well, now it's go to Dave Caldwell, Ben Davidson, Shane McGuigan.
So let's break this down, Russ. And I did this in my episode, part 2, which came out, this week. I don't know when this video is dropping. And I said this. You can have a situation, Russ, where you have a really good boxing trainer and he's just given the wrong fighter to train and it doesn't work out. So the trainer ends up looking bad, but he hasn't done anything wrong. He's just not got the right person. But you can also get a bad trainer with a really good athlete. Now, Adam's somewhere between the two. Adam got gifted a supreme athlete in David Haye, like a genetic one-off. Like, you got to think David Haye by nature is a light heavyweight. Like when I train alongside his brother James is a light heavyweight, and that's even a push. His sister's lean and wiry as well. His old man is lean and wiry too. David's not a cruiserweight, never mind a heavyweight. That tells you how freaky David is.
David Haye?
Yeah.
He's a light heavyweight, isn't he, David Haye?
Yeah. That tells you how freaky David is. Now, if you want to know to what extent Adam was in over his head, Adam had to take David to Miami so he could train with Ismail Salas. That's why David loves Miami, and that's why he's always had that relationship with Ismail Salas, because Adam went out there, spent time with Salas, spent time with Rubio, trying to learn from them. And if you look at the stuff Adam does in the gym, it's variations on the Cuban ideas that he picked up back in the day. But what Adam's never been able to do, from what I can see, is he's never been able to teach someone fundamental boxing. That's what he's not able to do. Adam Booth couldn't give you a Mike McCallum. Adam Booth couldn't give you a Nigel Benn. He couldn't give you those sorts of guys who, like in McCallum's case, supreme technician. In Nigel Benn's case, a guy who worked around his limitations. Adam can't do that. Why? I don't know. But he hasn't been able to do that yet. And we've never seen him, like you always say, Porky, we've never seen him take someone from zero. So there are loads of questions around Adam Booth.
Can I just say, I don't mean that as a slight on Adam Booth, but he did have David Haye from debut, didn't he?
But, and so I'll go back, and so this is where inside knowledge helps. David was ready. Like, you and I have talked about this. Like, David was putting over Crawford Ashley as a teenager, right? That's not easy to do. He was putting over David Starry as a teenager. Not easy to do. David was special before he started working with Adam. David was special. Probably could have been more disciplined, but he had otherworldly power back then. So Adam didn't really have to do that much. Yeah. And actually, when the true story comes out of that relationship, you realize Adam didn't really do that much.
Well, he must have done, because he's had world champions, hasn't he?
Okay, who?
Was it Burnett? Didn't he win a world title with him?
I classed him as one of those world British champions, though, Russ. Did he get the belt of? He got the belt of Haskins, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
George Groves, although he never got into belt, but he got into British, Commonwealth, European, and world rank #1.
Okay. Okay, so now think about who you're dealing with here. You're dealing with David Hay, I told you, rare talent. You're dealing with George Groves, who, had he been any other nationality, would have been at the 2008 Olympics, right? That's the level you're dealing with here. Ryan Burnett, probably similar caliber. Adam hasn't taken someone that walked in off the street like a Johnny Nelson.
Clinton Woods type.
Adam wouldn't know what to do with him. That's what I'm trying to say. So I'm not trying to say Adam's a bad trainer. Adam's good at what he does, right? Adam's like Ben Davison. He can break down a fighter's style and he can come up with tactics to nullify that. That's one form of training. I like trainers who like to be the problem. That's how I train my guys. I train my guys so that when they walk in the ring, there's nothing the opposition can do to them that they're not prepared for. And I'm like, look, go and box your way. If he tries to nullify this, we'll completely change it and we'll confuse the life out of them. They're the trainers I like. It's why I like guys like Glenn Rose. That's how Glenn Rose thinks as well. You know?
Yeah. All right. So where does Kelly go now? Because the Benn fight's obviously not there, is it now?
I'd like to just see him do the British circuit for a bit. Let him fight these guys like Chris Congo, is it Chris Jenkins and those? Let him fight those guys. You know, let him have some fun fights. Like, let's not worry about weight for now. Let him fight Ted Cheeseman. Let him fight Echo Esserman. Just let him fight British guys around 147, 154. Yeah. Here's what it is, Russ. Right? And let me know your thoughts on this.
Yeah, go on.
Our lads don't box enough. Mauricio Lara, 22 years old, 24 fights. Right? How many Brits do you know in that category? Not many.
Jordan Gill's had 28 fights.
Yeah, but he's been a pro for what, 8 years? 9 years?
26 years old. Yeah, he has. Yeah. 8 years.
Do you see what I mean? Lara's been a pro, what, 4.5 years? He's had that many fights. So you start to look and go, why aren't these guys fighting enough? But the answer is promoters aren't investing in these guys. You've got to have those fights, Russ. You've got to have the first 10 to 12 fights off the grid where you make a load of mistakes, where you get bashed up, where you fight that guy that won't fall over, where you solve all of those psychological problems, because you don't want to make mistakes when the money's a lot bigger, like Kelly just found out.
Yeah. Did David A win a British title?
I don't think so.
Right, so David A didn't win a British. Josh Kelly's not one. Does Adam feel like his fighters are above British level because they're hyped that much? Does he feel like he needs to rush them?
So I'd ask you another question. Does he care about the fighters or does he care about the money?
Oh, we don't know, do we? Because
yeah.
I'd like to ask Adam that if you come on here.
Yeah. See, with me, like when I train guys, I look at it as a project, right? There's a goal we're trying to achieve, and the beauty of it is achieving that goal. The project's amazing. Maybe like when it becomes professional, like in Adam's world, what he's thinking about is the business and going, okay, when's my cash out point? Let me get to my cash out point, and once I've made my money, then we can worry about what he's doing.
Yeah.
Now it's a bit more delicate than that. I made it sound very crude and very callous. It's not so much that, but what drives you in the morning? Is it turning your fighter into a special boxer who wins titles, or is it making as much money as you can? That's the question.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exciting times ahead. So, Conor Benn, where does this all leave him now? Because they wheeled him out as a pundit, didn't they, at weekend?
I thought he was pretty good as a pundit, actually. I enjoyed him because he had the right mix of, and you can see that his dad's clearly paid for his education, which is good. And you could see he had that right mix of saying the right things for the public, but he also showed that little bit of menace as well to say, listen, I'll fight anyone, anytime. So I enjoyed his commentary on there.
Yeah, but all fighters say that, don't they? Anthony Tomlinson says that. But yet he's been offered a British title eliminator against that Croker, is it? And the silence is golden. So
no, you can't question Conor Benn. Like he he's not a guy that's been known to duck. I'll give him that.
All right, then. Well, there's been people in the industry that are saying Conor Benn's a YouTube fighter. What do you think to that?
Nah. And I'll tell you why, Russ. I know people who've either been in that Tony Sims gym or part of that Tony Sims gym now. And when they talk about Conor Benn, first in, last out, doesn't want to be beaten at anything, spars anyone, jumps in. There's nothing about Conor Benn that's manufactured.
All right, then.
I even had to go to Australia. Like, I had to ring my Australian friends to verify his amateur record, and it checked out. He's not manufactured. The only thing with him is they're rushing him. And I think British fans just don't like having things forced on them. And for anyone who's a wrestling fan here, we call it the Roman Reigns problem. So in the WWE, there's a wrestler called Roman Reigns, and they want him so bad to be the top guy, but the fans don't like him. And they don't like him because they can see he's as you'd say, Porky, he's a company man. And that's why they don't like him. I think Conor's in that same position where the fans are just like, well, you're being forced down our throat. Like, let's make our own mind up.
My argument with all this, Terry, is Conor Benn were exerted as into the rankings of the WBA at number 6 not so long ago. Obviously, there were a big kick-off about it, and they pulled him back out, didn't they? They arrested him, but he was higher than Broner, a 4-weight world champion at the time. Now, I'd like to see him fight Broner, would you?
Not yet.
Not yet. Broner got too much for him.
No, not even that. You got to earn those sorts of fights. I'd like to see him fight Jerome Ennis. They're about the same age, similar number of fights. And it would be a good comparison between the American incubation system for fighters and the British system, because I think they turned pro roughly the same time. Yeah. So it makes sense. They're the same weight. Just let them go at it.
What about O'Hara Davis? Is it true that he put hands on Conor Benn and broke his jaw in 2 places?
I've heard similar stories. Whether I've heard them from the horse's mouth or not, I can't comment. What I can say is O'Hara Davis can hit pretty hard when he wants to. So
it's true then. That's not a problem. At least Conor Benn turns up for his battles, though, doesn't he? So we're gonna have to give him. I think jury's out on him. I'm not team Conor Benn at the moment, but I'm not gonna say he's having it easy, because he's gone out and learnt his craft a little bit more, and he's a bit more likeable. I've noticed people starting to change their mind about him, because once they put him in that WBA 6 ranking, it puts a lot of pressure on the kid, doesn't it? Because he weren't top 6, were he?
I feel for him, because he's growing up in the public eye, and he's growing up in probably the most hostile market in terms of sport. I think boxing is brutal in terms of the negativity you receive. And for him to stick at it, I've got a lot of respect for him. He's a guy that I've known for a long time. I remember at the Golovkin Brook weigh-in, like, we all went for Nando's together. And that was the first time I really got to speak to him properly. Just a great human being, man. He's a good kid.
All right then. Judging in the UK, is it at an all-time low at the moment, and are we worse than Germany and Italy?
I think we are, but we've hit that point for exactly the same reasons the Germans did. There was so much money to be made in Germany in the mid-90s to the mid-2000s. So it's just so much money being made that people wanted to stay on that gravy train. Now the UK is the gravy train. Everyone wants to stay on that. So it's like we've got to make sure our guys keep winning.
Yeah. Yeah. Heavyweight scene, Terry. Dillian White. What sort of power has he got where he's just clicking his fingers and they're all running over to Gibraltar? Is the tail now wagging the dog?
No. So I think the problem you had, just from what I heard, Russ, was they were training out in Portugal, and Portugal wasn't on the red list, right? So they could have come back and fought, and that wasn't a problem. And then Portugal gets put on the red list, but you've already made your kind of training commitments and you've got a training plan. And so the UK is not really conducive to that. So they had chats about, let's go to Spain, finish the camp off in Spain and fly back. But obviously, you're doing that in the public eye, right?
Yeah.
So obviously, UK border control are like, no, you can't do that. You're making a mockery of the system. So then Eddie goes back and says, but you're allowing footballers to go back and forth. And he's like, well, I mean, they have different safety protocols to boxing.
Yeah.
And so they tried to negotiate. It didn't work. And I think Eddie was just like, we may as well just do it out there. Easier.
All right. Does Dylan White beat Povetkin in the rematch?
Ooh. I want to say yes, but I fully expect to be wrong in saying that. But I think he can do. You know, he's the bigger guy.
Oh, sorry.
He's the bigger guy. He's the younger guy. He's got more to prove in the sport. So you'd imagine he's got the hunger. But, you know, the shot Povetkin hit him with probably isn't even Povetkin's best punch. That would be my worry.
Yeah. Povetkin's 42 in September, so they're going to fight March, so he's 41 and a half. Do you feel that Dylan White, fighting yet another 40-odd-year-old, is now rinsing it a bit too much now?
Do you know the challenge we've got, Russ? And I think it's true in the heavyweight scene. We don't allow our heavyweights to have mediocre fights. And the other side of that discussion is heavyweights believe they should be getting pay-per-view money every time. Yeah. Do you know what I'd love to see, Russ?
Wow.
This is what I'd love to see. I'd love to see Anthony Joshua one day just go to Eddie Hearn and go, look, you've got a Coley boxing on March 20th, for example. Yeah. And imagine Joshua just said, can I just do an 8-rounder against someone? Just pick someone like let me do an 8-rounder against, I don't know, Nick Webb. You know, I'd love to see Joshua do that. You know, because all we end up doing is twice a year, he fights people we're disappointed by. I'd love to see him just go, look, I'm going to do an 8-rounder. I'll pay for my opponent. Don't worry about that. It keeps me busy, keeps me ticking over, and it maybe helps sell the event. But it'll be like the old days. Remember when heavyweights used to box a big name, then you have a couple of mediocre names, and then another big name because you had to manage your body. Yeah. Like these camps must be breaking Dillian in half, for goodness sake.
Yeah. But he's on his 6th pay-per-view in the next few weeks, Dylan White, 6th pay-per-view. If he gets beaten against Povetkin, what will they do? Wheel out Dillian against Chisora for a rubber match?
No, they'll do Dillian versus Joseph Parker. You already know that.
Do you reckon? I'm not so sure on that.
Oh, on pay-per-view, yeah.
It's recycled. It's not more recycled stuff in it, fights.
That's all you're ever going to get, Russ. Hearn's not stupid. He knows that as long as there's a bit of drama between two guys, he can sell it. And that's all he's doing now.
Yeah. Have you ever wondered why we don't hear Derek Chisora or Dylan White call out Ortiz, Joe Joyce?
They're trying to take as much money as they can with as little risk as they can, would be the simple answer to that.
Yeah, but we keep hearing about I'm the can man. Anybody who wants it can get it. And Derek Chisora, he's war Chisora, he goes to war, doesn't he? He didn't look like he went to war against Usyk, did he?
He's getting old, Russ. Come on, give the old man a chance.
Do you think that David A will wheel him out in the MMA after he's obviously put him in with your Joyces, Dubois, and Dillian again? Do you think he'll wheel him out for MMA in America or UFC, whatever it's called?
I don't think that would be good for Derek. I think that would end badly for him.
Do you remember when we had a chat after the Caballel fight and we both decided that maybe Derek were done? Everybody else said it, Tyson Fury, Eduardo Hearn. Everybody said he were done. And here we are, was it 3 or 4 years later? And we're talking about Chisora in more pay-per-views. He's had 3 pay-per-views now, hasn't he?
But you see, with him, at least I can understand. He knows his shelf life is diminishing. So he is literally just trying to cash out any way that he can. And, you know, obviously David's there going, I need some of that money too, until I can find my next cash cow.
after Derek Chisora, where does David A go? Because he doesn't seem to be signing anybody, does he? He don't keep people, does he? They all leave, don't they?
What would David end up doing?
Family Fortunes or The Chase or Big Brother?
He'll find someone. I promise to God, he will find someone. It could even be someone like Tony Yoka. I wouldn't be surprised with someone of like that sort of name. He'll find someone.
Do you know what David A's problem is? And I've heard this off a few people who know him very well. His problem is he obliterates and plows through money like there's no tomorrow, doesn't
he? So you have to be careful. He's pretty clever with it. So I think the last couple of days I've walked past his Rolls Royce, D11AYE. I shouldn't be snitching that, but yeah, he's got a wonderful Rolls Royce. It's parked up because he's away at the moment. But you look at that. But I think he probably bought that secondhand, or one of his mates probably just gave it to him.
Is that the one? He used to have a black. He used to have a white. I think it's a 63. Is it top at range? He had a white Brabus Mercedes. I think it's same plate, and he puts a black screw through the two ones, doesn't he? So it's like a H.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen that one outside York Hall years ago. Seen it outside.
Yes. Yeah, so now it's on the Rolls Royce because I think he had the E63 before that.
Yeah. No, it was a C, an E or a C. It was a Brabus one, top at range, a white one with white alloys.
Yeah, no, but the last one he had before the Rolls Royce.
That.
Yeah, before the Rolls, he had an E63.
Ain't that the one that Danny Watts wrote off in Brixton or something? He hit something, didn't he? Wrote it off, didn't he?
No, he bought this one after Danny passed away, God rest his soul.
Yeah.
I was going to say, but also remember, David associates with a lot of wealthy people anyway. So a lot of the stuff you'd assume he pays for, he probably doesn't.
Yeah, he probably gets freebies.
People like to be seen around him.
Can't beat freebies, Terry. It's like money in bank, isn't it? All right, then. Moving on. Tyson Fury, Hughie Fury. What next for those boys? Because we're seeing Tyson over 300 pounds, the reports are, in weight. Is he just having a break from all this training last 3 years, or I don't know what's going on there, do you think? And Hughie Fury, Peters tells me Sunday that Hughie's out in April. So there's no date yet, is there? No exact date or opponent.
So as for Tyson, he's probably close to. He's probably in shape to train, Russ. So if you remember, he fought Wilder at what, 270 something. I think he fought at 270 something. So he's 10% over that fight weight. That's not bad. So if you're 300 pounds, you're 10% above your fight weight. That's the equivalent of a middleweight walking around at light heavy. I can live with that if you're being inactive. So I'm not too worried about that. Anything higher than I would worry. He probably needs to fight twice this year. A fight to get the rust off, and then a fight to prep him for Joshua when that happens in 2022. So I can see that being where they go. In terms of Hughie Fury, what do you do with him now? That's my question. What do you do with him? You got to put him in with a guy like Hrgovic, right?
He needs a big win, Hughie, now. It's got to be in a crossroads fight, hasn't he?
Because I know Peter listens to this. So I don't really want to set him off. But I've always asked this question. Does Hughie Fury really want to box?
Yeah. Of course he does, yeah. The property that Hughie's got now, there's a big complex on land, a big gym, massive gym, like an aeroplane hangar. All high-tech stuff in there and everything, kitchen, a lot, ring, weights, everything. It's just, he comes out of his house and just goes into the gym, 30 yards away.
But I just wonder, when you watch someone boxing, and I'm like, do you enjoy this? That's always the impression I get with Hughie. I'm like, do you enjoy what you're doing?
He doesn't say anything, does he? No. I've been sat on an airplane with Hughie for 5 hours. Must have got 10 words out of him. He doesn't speak. He's a quiet kid, isn't he? Very quiet.
Yeah.
He's a nice kid, though, but he's just very, very quiet. He doesn't mean he's a bad guy. Just because he doesn't sell himself like his cousin does. Don't forget, Huey's not 27 yet. He's only 26 years of age. 26. He's 27, isn't he, in September? So there's plenty of time, isn't there, I think? He's picked up a lot of experience, and there's still a lot to work on, isn't there, I think?
Yeah, but you're getting to that point where he can't keep learning, right? He's getting to that point where he is the boxer he's always going to be. So that's why I'm asking, what do you
want?
See, Russ, what do you do with Huey Fury? Because he's too good for British level, but he's not shown himself to be solid at world level yet.
Yeah, maybe.
So, would you put him in with Yoka? Sink or swim against Yoka?
When I put him in with Yoka, it's a 50-50, that, isn't it? It's a good fight, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why are people not clambering to get Yoka on board? He's a superstar in France, isn't he? Olympic gold medalist. What is he, undefeated, about 8-0 or something like that?
Yeah, he's nothing, 9-0.
9-0.
Fights again on March 5th.
So he'll be 10-0 on March 5th.
Yeah.
He's not being active. That'll be 5 years from Olympics and 10 fights. He might get an 11th fighting after 5 years at Olympics. He's not an active heavyweight, is he, Yoka?
Remember, he was banned for a couple of years, Russ, or a year and a half.
Yeah, for drugs.
Oh, for missing a test.
Missing a test. Rio Ferdinand.
Yeah.
Well, all they do now in NFL, if you miss a test, they don't bother with all that prosecuting you and banning you. They just take a hair sample. That goes back to 26 weeks, doesn't it? That's what they do in murder cases in some countries. Yeah. So why didn't they just do that with anybody in this UK? For example, Dylan White was screaming that he was innocent. And 2 seconds, I've got to go down here. We've got nearly, it's about 600 days since Dylan White's B sample went missing. Dylan White not once said he was willing to give a hair sample regarding that. They were waiting for urine test for B sample, which I thought were in bad taste, but it is what it is, isn't it? What do you think?
So from what I understand about anti-doping, Russ, UCAD cannot do anything until the B sample is tested, right?
Yeah.
So you can't send lawyer letters to UCAD threatening anything because there's no court case until the B sample's tested. So why were they getting lawyers involved without the B sample being tested? The B sample was tested. You know, there's this myth that it was never tested. It was tested and it came back positive as well. That's why they had the lawyers involved.
The B sample, you're saying, yeah?
Yeah, it was tested.
So if the A sample and the B sample, I mean, this is how I look at it. You know, in prison, you can be laid in your pad. If you've had a spliff the night before and blown smoke out the window, the night clocker who comes around to do the roll count, he can smell that. He will smack a note of it. You're going to get took for a test next morning. They'll come bursting in, search your cell with dogs, take you for a test, right? You go into a little room and you pee in a beaker. They've all got gloves on and they say, right, Russell, we've got this beaker here. Watch. A, B. They're going to like 2 tubes that big and they're sealed and you sign for it. And that is just the same that they did with Liam Cameron at Sheffield, because I was there when they did it and I thought, so that's how it works then. So how can one sample be different to the other? It's impossible. Wouldn't happen, never happen. It'd be in the billions to 1. This is what the experts say. So why did it all go silent and why are we still waiting on it? And it's all like a Bermuda Triangle job, isn't it? It's a Bermuda Triangle.
You're waiting for the B sample, Russ. They misdirected you.
Oh yeah,
the B sample's been tested. It came back positive.
Who said this though? Who said this?
They're not allowed to say anything.
Oh,
UCAD's process can't. So what they did Because what normally happens, Russ, is let's say you make your cruiserweight debut, Russ, and you get tested afterwards. If you're
I'm making a comeback, Terry, cruiserweight. Hey, I can make cruiserweight now.
I know. Miracles.
Miracle.
But Russ, look, so let's take you, right? Your A sample fails for nandrolone.
Yeah.
Nothing can happen at this point. You've got two options. You either say, yes, I'm guilty now, and you go through the disciplinary process, or you say, no, something's wrong. You need to test the B sample, right? But at this point, UCAD cannot do anything to you until they test the B sample.
Yeah.
So there'd be no sense in Dillian saying my sample was contaminated, which was the explanation he gave afterwards, if you remember.
Yeah.
He can't say that to UCAD, and UCAD can't accept that unless they've tested both samples, because that's their process. The UCAD process doesn't kick in until you've tested both samples or you've accepted the findings of the A sample.
Yeah.
That's my understanding of it. So he either said, yes, I'm guilty on the A sample, but I'm contaminated, or he said, test the B sample. Oh, I'm guilty again. Contaminated samples, contaminated supplements would be what I expect happened. Now, here's the thing about UCAT. They don't tell you who they're investigating. They don't tell you who's going through disciplinary processes until it's all done. That's why they got the lawyers in first.
So basically, Dylan White's a two-time drug cheat then? Is that what we're saying?
Because he hasn't been punished twice for drugs offences. Is all we can say for certain.
Been punished once, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And the other one's a mystery. But how come? This is what gets me. We had Tony Bellew coming out screaming and this and that. Well, how come Thomas Hauser hasn't been sued, or UCAD? Nobody's been sued over all these allegations against Dylan White. And this is what gets me with Dylan White, because he knows how to play the PR game, doesn't he? They all pal up their YouTube mates. We know who they are, but Dylan White, is it 100 and so many days, 6 months or something? So since he said he's sent a letter off to WBC, his words suing them. But the WBC guy, who I know, said there's no writ being dropped on us. So Dylan White's not suing the WBC. I mean, this Dylan White WBC thing, it's become that laughable now that they're going around in circles with the lies, aren't they? You see where I'm coming from? Dylan White is a blocker, isn't he, for Eddie Hearn? Like Usyk is, like Ortiz was. They're there to protect the quarterback, aren't they, Joshua? They're running. What do they call the position to protect the quarterback? Is it running backs?
No, offensive lineman.
Defensive lineman.
No, so offensive lineman.
Offensive like lineman, tackle. Yeah. Well, I watched this film with Burt Reynolds overnight, Mean Machine, great film. And Burt Reynolds, he said, what's the most important thing that you must never forget? And this guy went, protect your quarterback. Well, this nutcase with bald head. Arnie Shackner. They get him out of solitary, don't they? Well, his job's to protect your quarterback. It's a bit like Tom Brady, because he's not a big guy, but he's got a golden arm, hasn't he? Nobody gets near him, do they, Tom Brady, because he's protected, isn't he? Yeah. Now, that's Joshua. Eddie Hearn's protecting him. When Ortiz was the WBA interim champion and he signed him, I said to everybody, oh, Eddie Hearn's going to upgrade him to regular champion. They didn't, did they? They parked him up, didn't they? And it's same with Usyk. What are they doing for Usyk? They parked him up for 2 years, haven't they, more or less? Am I right?
But I think the problem you've got with Usyk is a lot of other promoters have pulled with the WBO, so they'll be pushing for the mandatory to happen because they've got guys coming up the queue as well. Oh. So at some point, if they delay the Joshua Fury fight, at some point, someone's going to have to give up a belt somewhere.
Yeah. All right, then. Moving on from the adventures of Walter Mitty, Eddie Hearn, let's dive in balls deep on a big talking point. If you go on old forums and that, I mean, some old school guys are even coming out and mentioning it now. People in the industry. Has punditry now become such a laughing stock that was spending all night on social media talking about the punditry rather than the boxing. For example, we've had Josh Warrington's stamp collection from Benn, and we've had it's Monday Night Netball, Mark. I can't wait. Can you? Where is it heading and who's at fault? With the Sky punditry. Hey, listen, BT Sports not that much better, but it is better. But the narratives that were being told, rough, tough, rugged, Josh Kelly's here. What a precocious talent, Matt. It's just a load of big words coming out from Beam. What do you think?
So there's no one on Sky that I'm a massive fan of. Adam Smith's probably the best of the bunch because I understand what he's trying to do. I don't think Macklin gels too well with Adam Smith, to be honest with you. So I think Macklin's probably the weak link at this point. You need someone like Carl Froch in there, which I'm not, I don't often say, Porky. But I think you need someone like Carl in there who gives us a bit more reality.
To shake it up a bit.
Not even to shake it up, just because you know how Adam Smith sometimes falls in love with the nonsense and the hype and the story, and you need Carl to go, this guy just ain't got it at this level. That's what you need.
Do you think Carl was very critical when he came out with those comments that probably got him took off the white Povetkin? He got took off, didn't he? Because he wrote pay-per-views, wasn't he? Do you think them comments that he made about Joshua not showing him anything since he got beat by a fat Mexican in New York, that would include in the Saudi fight? Do you think that probably put a black mark against his name at Sky? Saying it on IFL to Coogan when he didn't even think it were being filmed. I mean, how bad's that?
Well, rule number one: whenever Coogan shows up, just know he's recording. Right.
Exactly.
Just know he's recording, and just know that it will go out if Eddie says it should go out.
Yeah. So
but
do you think that was in bad taste, Coogan putting that out?
I put that kind of up there with the Prince Patel interview that should never have gone out, but that's just my opinion.
To be fair, he did offer to take it down, but Carl went, no, it's my opinion anyway. So we have to give him credit, don't we, Carl Froch, for saying, well, look, Joshua hasn't shown me anything. And he's kept that narrative up since then. Now, I know Joshua blocked him, didn't he, or he deleted messages or something. Look, they're not best mates, are they now, or like they were. But this is what happens when you've been in camps with people. You can end up a pundit. By being honest, people can get upset because boxers are insecure, aren't they?
Well, you tell me Rob McCracken can't sort this one out.
I don't know.
I thought this was your pal. I thought Carl was your pal.
Well, he is. I'm only going on what I've heard. I've seen it on IFL as well. So, but he's back on Sky, isn't he? So
let's give him a call.
Hey.
Let's give Carl a call, 07973. You know, every so often, Porky, every so often I'll just randomly text him and he'll just go, cheers, mate. Who is this?
You shouldn't do that because a lot of people do it because they get his number, don't they? And he'll listen, he's approachable just because he comes over a bit, what's the word? It can be a bit sharp, can't it? Because people are, when you're in that sort of position, you don't know where people are coming from, do you? When they come and say hello and stuff like that, or what they want off you. So he's always on guard, isn't he? You never see him wearing entourage, do you, Carl?
Nah, he did at the Brooke Golovkin weigh-in. Like they came 4 deep.
4 deep. Who did?
Froch did.
Oh, we're 4 deep. We who? Golovkin weigh-in. No, he's not fought Golovkin.
No. He was there at the weigh-in.
Where at? Who were Golovkin fighting?
Brooke.
Well, he'd have been with Sky, wouldn't he? He'd have been doing his job, wouldn't he?
No, but he had his little entourage when he walked in.
Oh, big Lee Beard.
I don't even know who these guys are. But he had the Cuban heels on to make himself look taller.
You fucking piss tacker.
No, he did. No, if anyone was at the Brook Golovkin way, and they'll tell you, Froch had they were light coloured trousers, like Gap khakis or something, and then he had the sort of tweed jacket.
Yo, man.
With the Cuban heels.
Yo, man. What, like, what's he called? That guy in Carlito's Way who ends up killing him at end. He
looked like the reverse of Clarence Beeks in Trading Places.
Benny Blanco from the Bronx. This is Benny Blanco from the Bronx, Carlito. He is you 20 years ago. All right, then, moving on. Punditry, like I've just said. Does Sky need to get rid of Tony Bellew, the disappearing man? And a couple of other ones as well. They got rid of Fearon, didn't they? He were annoying people, wasn't he? They got rid of him, didn't they? But I think Fearon hung himself, didn't he, with the Oscar Rivers failed a drug test as well as Dillian. That were his nail in the coffin, I heard that from somebody in the know. So do I feel for Fearon? No. Do I like him? I'm not big on him, but I think he's doing well at MTK. I think he's a good pundit. I think he's doing all right. What do you think about him?
I wouldn't have him on Sky. I like Spencer Fearon. I think he's a good guy. His energy is a bit too much for Sky.
Yeah.
I think you need someone on Sky who keeps it really simple, but is pretty much on the money. Like
Richie Woodall.
No.
Bunce.
Nah. But no, let's turn it around on you, Russ. Who would you have on as a pundit? Like,
who would I have on a pundit? I'd have on Jamie Moore, Carl Froch, Clinton Woods, Robin Reid. But they're not going to have Clinton on because he would just tell it as he sees it. And they've had him on, and he's done that before. They said, "Oh, Clinton, you can't say that." Because why? I'm here as a world champion to get analysis on a world championship fight in my weight. What do you mean? You know, that kind of thing. So Robin Reid's kind of like same Olympic medalist. He's won world titles at super middle. They want you to push their narrative. The narrative has changed. They want to surround themselves with company men, don't they? Now, people who don't say anything. Ed Robinson, right, outside of boxing, in a pub having a drink with lads, talks a good game. But then when they get back in that Sky building, they don't do what they say they're going to do they? They become... what's the word? Well, they're getting the job, aren't they? They want to keep the jobs. They've got mortgages. I can understand that, but don't come in my company saying this and then doing other things. It's my pet. Hey, Dennis used to wind me up all the time. Calm down, Russ. We're going to do this. I've got something bubbling. Just sit tight and watch. Well, I'd say, Dennis, do you remember 152 days ago, you said, and I quote, and then he'd go like, oh. Yeah, it's boxing, isn't it? Well, it ain't boxing. It's people chatting a load of nonsense. That's what it is. And I don't like to hear nonsense, Terry. It's only sport that could drive you mad, this, isn't it?
Man.
Drive me crazy. Drive me crazy.
No. So, in terms of Ed Robinson, what I like about Ed is Ed's a good guy, right? And Ed really understands boxing because he's worked his way up. So you can never question Ed. He's worked his way up. He knows his stuff. But Ed also understands that there's a political element to boxing on TV. And he's really good at playing that game. That's why I like him. You know, it's hard, Russ, as you well know. Because remember, not many sports on Sky Sports generate revenue, right? Like it's probably football, maybe a little bit of cricket. And then it's the boxing pay-per-views. So Sky know they've got a cash cow and they won't let anyone mess that up. They like their formula and they just stick to it.
Yeah. All right, then. Bellew, though, should he leave? Should he resign? Or is it because Bellew, Dylan White, Anthony Joshua all manage fighters? And you could put Steffi Bull and Caldwell in that mix. None of them want to work with Frank Warren, do they? They all want to work with Hearn. And they're all managing fighters and getting a slice of cake. And they just want to work with Hearn. They don't work with Frank. Why is that? Why can't any of Joshua's fighters, Bellew's, Dylan White's, Steffi Bulls, Coldwells. Why can't they work with Frank Warren? Why?
Well, because you're strengthening the competition.
Because what?
You're strengthening the competition, Russ.
Yeah. All right then. Moving on then. Dennis, I've got Cash Alley coming in here shortly. I don't have to sit here in my chair and I'll get behind the camera over there and do it. We've got Cash coming here, so what next for Cash? And is Dennis a hypocrite for coming out saying that fighters are not going for British titles and that blah blah blah, and they're trying to jump levels when, as I quote, Dennis hasn't won a British title since Ian Napper with Jamie McDonnell, that were about 10 years ago. And then 11 years ago, actually. 11 year and 1 month. 11 year, 1 month. So that's put that bit of hypocritical quote to bed. And Tommy Frank knocked Sonny Edwards back 2 years ago. Well, obviously Dennis did. So are we going to go back to going through traditional route and we're going to bin these belts? Yes or no? Because let me show you this here. Right.
You better be getting a Lonsdale belt out, Russ.
Got one here. This is Tommy Frank against Flores. 27th of March 2020, world title IBO. But it didn't happen because of the pandemic. Wouldn't Tommy have been better fighting Sonny Edwards in a British title? Because I said, look, why don't you just go for a British title? Because if you put Tommy in these fights, he could get beat. And he did, didn't he? Obviously, he got beat. Wouldn't he have been better fighting Sonny Edwards and we're having an all British class? Sonny would have hyped it up, wouldn't he? Strutting about thinking he's a roadman killer. And Tommy would have been what?
Oh, mate. He's going to tweet about that, don't you?
Well, I mentioned him.
Yeah.
If he
he listens. He listens.
Of course he does. Listen, if he ever says anything about me on social media again, I'm going to put something out about him, though. He will crawl away. He'll have to resign off Twitter, mate. Let me tell you, Sonny Edwards. So watch your little mouth. Wash your mouth out with soap, Sonny Edwards. Don't try and take me on. You've already got enough problems on, from what I've heard, with Chris Smedley's son, Nicky Smedley and Luke.
Oh, yeah.
So keep your mouth shut, Sonny. Just because you're small, don't mean to say that you're not going to get put in your place. So watch your mouth. Wash your mouth out with soap, you little... I don't know. You little worm. I just want to pinch his cheeks. But actually, I quite have a soft spot for his attitude to work, because I've heard he's a hard worker in the gym, which is good. But sometimes he leaves it a bit close at knuckle. And I'd like to see him and Tommy Frank fight, but the bottom line is, Dennis said we're going in a different direction, Russ. I says, well, what direction are you going in? Well, look what direction they've gone in with Tommy Frank now. They're trying to put him in with Kyle Youssef, who's beat Tommy 3 times already. So why would you do that? You could have had the Kyle Youssef before you fought this guy now, but you didn't want it because you thought it was an hard fight. Now all of a sudden, they're gagging for it for a British title. Maybe they should have listened to old Porky in first place, eh? What do you think?
Everybody should listen to Porky.
Well,
in the first place.
I was proved right, wasn't I? But what you have to understand is, if there's a problem, Dennis will sit down for you for 20 minutes and then he'll decide who's right. That's how it works. But obviously in this case, it weren't right, was it? Because Tommy got flogged in his last fight, didn't he? So the show were a disaster for Dennis, wasn't it? Headline act getting flogged. How can you say that's a good show when your headline act quits or gets stopped?
Now, wait. No. I want to give Tommy Frank his due, right? And
he quit, mate.
Nah, I don't. Look, here's what I'll say. I'm going to give Glenn Rose his due for training him pretty well. When his arm went and he was down to just boxing off that right hand, he was boxing pretty well. But I was watching that fight going, save him for another day.
No.
You're not going to win the fight with one hand, not that far out from the end. So I don't think in those situations you quit. And if you actually look, he still had his wits about him to keep working. But the right thing to do save him for another day. What's the point in dragging something on which is leading to an inevitable end?
Bad matchmaking's got him in the situation he's in, mate. Bad matchmaking. What's that?
So that's a different discussion.
Okay,
I don't mind it.
Okay,
if someone says we could have found a better opponent for him,
yeah.
fine. I can believe that. But the idea that he was out of his depth and he quit, nah. His arm went.
Did Audley Harrison quit when his arm went? He knocked that guy out, didn't he, last round? He didn't quit, did he?
Well, there you go. Like he didn't have another 18 to 21 minutes left to fight.
His arm went in the 7th round, though, didn't it? And he won at end. Look, everybody's threshold's different, but point I want to make is we come back to the same old thing, don't we? Now, gone back to British after going the IBO route and all these trinket belts and that. Them trinket belts are pish, mate, pish. The British title is the belt. When you're knocking British title fights back with Sonny Edwards, that's got beef, right, and you can go on BT Sport with it and get paid well. When you're knocking fights back like that, what are we in the sport for? What are we in the sport for? Eh? Glyn Rhodes will know that in hindsight now, but hindsight's a great thing, isn't it, afterwards? Looking back, but Dennis will know that in hindsight. That's why they're trying to correct it now, going back to what I said 2 years ago. Take the Sonny Edwards fight. And if you lose, Dennis, bring him back like you always say to me. When Clinton got beat against Dave Starry, I brought him back. Well, you bring Tommy back, don't you? But they didn't, did they? They didn't. So they tried to go their way, and it didn't work, did it? But why? Why did they go that route? I know why, but we'll save that for another day. It'll all come out in the wash. Tommy Frank, badly advised, badly matched. He lost his last 2 before the one he's just lost, but got hometown decisions. That's my opinion. I told Glyn, I respect Glyn, he respects me. And I told Tommy, you might not like it, but I told them. That's how you've got to be. We can't sit here blowing smoke up people who've had 14 fights and not had a stoppage. He's not stopped anyone. So what's going on? So he's not a puncher if he hasn't stopped anybody, is he? Right? So whoever gets in there with him who can punch a bit, and this kid can punch a bit, he's not going to respect Tommy's power. A recipe for disaster. Your words, Terry. You're putting a non-puncher in with a puncher. Josh Warrington Lara, we've just seen, haven't we? It's a recipe for a disaster, mate. It's a catalogue of events like the Titanic. All sorts of things came into play and the Titanic went down, didn't it? And that's the same with this, Tommy Frank, and it's the same with Warrington. The fighter's job is to fight and train. Tommy Frank don't miss a training session, well done. Warrington done. But it's what goes on around him. That's why it's called a team game. And I just think that bad matchmaking ruined him. I think he's finished now. I think he's finished at that weight. They will know that, but they're not going to tell him because he might knock his confidence. So I'm going to tell him. I think he's finished. Harsh, but we're in the reality game here. Boxing, we're not in it to make friends. If nobody don't want to be a friend, who gives a toot? Who's bothered? I've got enough friends. My channel is about telling the truth and giving an opinion on what I think. I think, you think Tommy Frank here, does he win a world title, yes or no? Be truthful, Terry.
No.
Right. Does he win a British title?
Yeah.
Who can he win a British title against? Kyle Youssef, who's beat him 3 times. Sonny Edwards, who they've knocked the fight back twice. So where we're going here, one's beaten 3 times, other one they don't want to fight, they don't want to get in with him. So who else can he win a British title off? Are they going to guide him into a vacant one against somebody who's coming off a few losses? Maybe. It'd be good matchmaking that gets it though, won't it? Do you agree?
So, okay. So here's the problem with the world title. I just think between Central America and Thailand, they've got that, but they've got the 115, they've got the 112, 115 belts kind of sewn up, right? So I don't see Tommy being able to compete But I don't see any of the Brits being able to compete. So you look at British level, and you're like, do you put him in with a Cal Yafai? Probably not.
No.
So you hope Cal Yafai goes elsewhere, and then you just start working your way down the ladder. Sonny Edwards won't fight for the British again. He doesn't need it. Then you go, right, Cal Youssef, why not, man? I mean, he's not a world beater.
He's undefeated and he's beaten 3 times. So why didn't they take that 18 months ago when Steffi wanted it?
Well, maybe because Steffi wanted it.
Nah, I don't think that. Listen, let me tell you this, right? Dennison's
Have you Botoxed your forehead, Porky?
Have I what?
Have you Botoxed your forehead?
No, why?
Okay, now your eyes are moving again. Because your eyes haven't moved for about 15 minutes. Your eyebrows hadn't moved for about 15 minutes.
Roger Moore.
Get over.
Listen, don't call me Jason Stewart. No. Does he win a British title? Tommy Frank, if he wins a British title, would be a fluke. It'd be good matchmaking. Dennis can pull it off, though, but because there's how many people is there in England in that weight? 16 or 15. So he can pull it off. But he don't beat Sonny Edwards. He don't beat Cal Yafai, does he? I don't think he beats Kyle Youssef. I think Dennis knows that. So it's going to be interesting to see moving forward what they do. But I don't know. It's moving on from the rest of Dennis's stable. Cash was going to be in the hot seat at 3:30 today. Does Cash Ali win a British title with Dennis?
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, against who? Will that be a vacant against somebody like Nick Webb or somebody like that? Or does he beat Dubois?
No, but I don't think. I think Dubois is past that level. I think you're looking at, could he beat Fabio Wardley? Yeah, I think he could. Could he beat Nick Webb? I think he could. Who else are you looking at that level? David Adelaide.
Dave Allen.
Nah, he's done, man. David Adelaide. Ooh, that'd be a torrid fight, but I think it'll be a good test for David Adelaide against Cash Ali. I think Cash Ali is in that mix. So if you pick the most likely 5 people to win a British title who haven't held it before, I think he's in that discussion.
So would it have to be a carefully matched job for Cash to get a British?
Nah, he didn't look out of his depth against Price until he started biting his nipples.
To bite his nipples?
Yeah.
Well, all right then. Who else is in his stable? Obviously, he's looking in good shape, Cash, from what I've heard.
Well, no, but what's Dennis done with Sam Kinnock?
I don't know.
I thought those two had a partnership. So those Kinnock shows, those Scottish shows might be on Eurosport.
Oh, yeah, the 3 Scottish kids that Dennis has signed up north. Well, I heard that Alex Arthur didn't want them. So I don't know. We're going to see, aren't we? We're going to see what Dennis has got up his sleeve. But
here's the thing. I told Dennis to sign a kid called Scott Forrest, right?
What about Chris Congo as well? And David Adelaide, when he had a meeting with him. Oh, I don't want to sign anybody unless they're from Sheffield, Russ. Oh, okay. Because how are they going to sell tickets? Oh, okay. Well, what are you signing people from Scotland for then?
I don't know, but Scott Forrest would have been a guy. If I was in Dennis's shoes, I'd have broken the bank to sign Scott Forrest.
Well, he go on, sorry.
Because he looks like he might have a future. And so it's what I said to Den. Like, sometimes you got to do the whole Moneyball thing. You got to find these guys, like the McGuigans did with Josh Taylor, guys who've been overlooked, but are talented and hardworking.
Well,
even Callum Beardow would have been a good signing for Dennis.
Yeah. Well, look at Josh Whale. He's kicked on, hasn't he? Now he's got 5 signings. Josh Whale's got his managers. He'll be putting his own shows on this year, Josh. He's got 5 fighters now.
I think Josh needs a head of boxing.
Yeah. Right. Well, you never know, do you? He's got 5. He's signed 5 fighters, I think. Or there's 5 with him in it. There's Dempsey, Josh. I think there's 3 or 4 others. He's going in the right direction, Josh.
But you know what, Russ? None of this works for me. And do you know why?
Why?
what this pandemic and this lockdown has taught us is boxing is rubbish when too many people are involved at that kind of manager promoter level.
Yeah.
Right. What we actually need is less people involved. We need MTK to just take all of this over and just make the fights happen, because what we're not going to tolerate, Russ, when boxing comes back is I'm not sitting there for 5 hours watching prospect against nobody, prospect against nobody, prospect against bum, prospect against journeyman. I'm not doing that anymore. Tickets are too expensive for me to be wasting my evenings doing that. So these guys have to start getting together and start thinking now, how are we going to work together to make big fights happen on the small hall scene? Otherwise, just don't bother coming back. We have no interest.
Yeah, I suppose there is that as well, isn't there?
Yeah, you're telling me, Russ, you really want to see, I don't even know, man. No, and I'm not taking shots at the kid because he's a nice kid, but I don't want to see Lou and Nasser against the Latvian Binman. I don't.
Yeah. All right, then. Moving on. Plenty of time. Joe Gallagher's stable. Callum Johnson signed on Monday. So what day are we on here? Thursday. So 4 days ago. He signed for Frank Warren, Queensby. What happens next with Natasha Jonas? What do you think to her punditry?
Love it. Think she's class. Think she's brilliant. Knows her stuff. Understands the sport. And what I like about it as well, she gives that added level of detail, like where she'll just be like, I don't think this guy's doing the right thing here.
And isn't she great for sports to say that she's got a kid, she's got a baby as well?
Yeah, she's a mum. She's a fighter. She can do glamour. She can do violence. She can do it all.
Very talented girl. And what I find amazing is they can't even get her the Terry Harper fight after everything that was said.
Look, they realized very quickly there's still miles on the old Jonas clock, man. She's still got a lot to give. And the mistake they made was assuming Natasha Jonas is old. I don't know if she listens to this. If she does, she's gonna love this. She might not have hit her physical peak. She might get 2 years down the line, and after like the body's settled down from having had the kid, she finds that she's just got this new level of performance. So Terry Harper can't wait. There's no point in waiting it out, man. Just face the fight now.
Do you feel that Joe Gallagher's had a raw deal from Matchroom and Sky, considering that he had biggest stable, didn't he, a few years ago?
So in totality, no, because I think Joe Gallagher and Sky have kind of grown together, and he's done very well of Sky. Remember, he was Ring Magazine Trainer of the Year.
The only one from Britain to ever win it.
Did McGuigan win it?
As a trainer?
Well, Shane, yeah.
Did he? I can't. Did Shane McGuigan win Ring Magazine Trainer of the Year? I don't know. People will have to check that out.
He might have done. Yeah. That's for the hardcores.
Yeah, for hardcore. Well, I didn't even know that. I thought he was runner up. I know Peter Fury was runner up the year Joe Gallagher won it, didn't he? And everybody said Peter should have won it because of the Vladimir win.
Yeah, but Joe delivered more product to the street, though.
Yeah, across the level, the British and Europeans.
And I think Joe's grown with Sky, and I think one of the problems of that sort of growth is it becomes expensive. Right now Gallagher's stable's an expensive one to put out, and I'm not saying that they're rubbish. I'm just saying, Liam Smith isn't fighting for 20 grand. Natasha Jonas isn't fighting for 20 grand. Callum Smith isn't fighting for 20 grand. They're fighting for decent amounts of money, which needs crowds, man. And I think you'll see Joe Gallagher's influence increase again when crowds are allowed back in.
Yeah.
But like I said in my podcast, man, one thing you got to give Joe Gallagher credit for, he's still here.
Yeah.
Like I remember before, I used to be like, look at Gallagher. He's look how he trains his fighters, man. They're basic, they're this, they're that. And then I realized actually, most British boxers that come up through the amateurs are pretty basic. And all Joe's done is said, I'm not going to waste my time trying to educate you in a different way. We're just going to make you good at what you do. So we'll make you super strong, super fit, and you're going to be competent with the basics, and we'll get you to a world title. So respect to him for just figuring it out before a lot of us did.
Yeah. Callum Johnson. Who does Frank match him with?
They'll give him some European names, I imagine, and then I can see him going over to the States for a bit. I'm sure Bob's got some light heavies for him. While they build up either Yard or Lyndon Arthur, then he'll come back for that. But I could see them. I think the plan is to get Callum into a position for a WBO title shot.
You reckon, yeah?
Yeah, I'd expect him to be fighting for a world title in the next 12 months, providing crowds are allowed.
Can you see Callum Smith, Marcus Morrison, Natasha Jonas? Is it Sam Hyde?
Yeah.
Can you see all them working with Frank Warren?
Yep. Natasha Jonas.
Beefy Smith as well.
They might have to have a little conversation to smooth some stuff out, right? Because Liam was there, then he fought in Mexico under Eddie, and then he's had to go back to Frank. But no, I think Jonas is in a tricky position because Frank can't make the fights happen for Jonas, so Jonas has to stay on Matchroom.
You think, yeah?
Yeah, because who can Frank match her up with?
I don't know. They did find somebody, weren't they?
Yeah, but look, the Terry Harper rematch.
It's dead in water. It's dead in water if they cross over to Frank, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Billy Joe Canelo. Does it happen in May? Yes or no?
If it does, has it been signed? That's the thing I'm trying to understand. Has it been signed? I'm hearing it's not been signed. So why hasn't it been signed?
I don't know.
I don't think Canelo needs Billy Joe, to be honest with you. I think once he dealt with Callum Smith, he's like, oh, I've got Fielding and I've got Smith. Maybe I'm done with these Brits.
Do you feel that if Billy Joe don't fight Canelo in May, that the last 6.5 years of his, is it about 6.5, 7 years, something since he fought Eubank, has been a total waste of time? So who's he got on his record? Who's he got on his record as a win? He's got Andy Lee, Lemieux, and Eubank. That's it, isn't it?
But I don't think Billy Joe cares about stuff like that, to be honest with you. I don't. I think he's just doing whatever he wants, whenever he wants. And that's what he'll keep on doing.
Yeah.
We'll see. I was going to say, we'll see what the new training regime does for him, though.
Yeah. Saudi. Do you think they'll go to Saudi, Terry? And will it be in bad taste with the human rights and all that? Or will they just wheel Eddie Earn out to take all the brunt?
If I were to rank the countries in order I expect it to happen in, I'd say Dubai 1, Qatar number 2, and Saudi number 3.
Where's Qatar? Where's Qatar?
It's in the Middle East, so it's just a 40-minute flight from Dubai. It's not far.
I've never heard of that. Qatar.
Where the World Cup is in 2022, Porky.
Oh yeah, Quaker that, innit?
Huh?
Begins with Q, doesn't it? Is it Quaker or something?
Qatar, yeah.
Oh, that's oats, isn't it? Quaker oats. Oh, I've never. I'm going to play football out there. What, in all that heat?
I think they're doing it in November, so it should be a bit cooler.
So do you think Joshua and Fury will feel guilty about taking the money out there and not giving the fans what they want?
No, I don't think they care.
Yeah.
Remember, they're not in control of this now. This is the money men now, right? Joshua and Fury would fight tomorrow if they could, but this is the money men all trying to work out how they can get the every last penny out of this.
Yeah. This is why it's taking so long to get over that line, isn't it?
Partly. I think Joshua's also being quite tactical. So if you look at Joshua's camp at the moment, he's got a lot of height in there. He's got 6'8" guys, 6'9" guys. He's preparing for Fury right now.
I've been told he's in serious training for it now.
Well, no. It's not serious training. It's more education at this point because they're not in camp, but he's working on things.
Yeah, he's training. Fury's not training, is he?
Yeah, I'm sure he's doing bits and bobs. But Sugar Hill's tied up at the moment. I think he's got shows this weekend and next.
Yeah. All right, then. Do you want to give a shout out to anybody, Terry?
Nah, you know me, man. I just want to shout out Porky's Corner. You know, keeping the streets hot with that product since '85.
What's that? 85. What's that mean?
That's it. That's a year, Russell.
Oh yeah. All right then. What do we think about these YouTubers, Terry, that are getting all this access and it's still going on now? Do you think that they've all been found out now? You know, with these analytics and, you know, like 4 million views on one channel. We're not going to say the name. He want IFL though. And they got 300 comments or something, or 4 million views. And then I get the same comments off 2,000 views. So how can that add up?
I get told off for talking about numbers too often. So I'm going to keep it simple and say, look at the numbers they do and look at the sponsors they have. They don't add up. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
If you were doing 4 million views, you could get Coca-Cola to sponsor you.
Yeah, well, we ought to give me an office, don't they?
Well, yeah, but you're special, though.
I know, yeah. An office and a few bottles of I'm going to say Pepsi then. I actually prefer Pepsi to Coca-Cola.
Right, okay.
Edit that out, Cameron. I'll be on the street. That's about it then, really.
Hey.
I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll finish off on Johnny Nelson. I'm not going to let you escape, Johnny, because I know you're watching, and you, Ed Robinson. Are you on a kiss and make up? Right, Johnny Nelson. Where is he headed at the moment with the shit he comes out with? Pish.
The thing is, I like Johnny. And you know why I like Johnny?
I don't like him.
But here's the thing, Russ. You know Johnny just does it to get a rise out of people like you. He'll just sit there and he'll just go, yeah, I'm going to say it, man. I know this is going to set them off. I think he just does it to wind people up.
Well, I think he does as well, you know, because he does know his boxing, but some of the stuff he comes out with, it's designed to be controversial. It's pantomime stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. But he knows as soon as he says, you know what, I think Nick Genman could stop Golovkin, right?
Who?
Nick Genman.
Yeah, you could imagine him coming out with something like that, couldn't you, Johnny?
Yeah,
Nelson?
but you know what? That's 500 tweets within 30 seconds of people just going, Jesus, this Johnny Nelson guy. So he doesn't mind that, man. He keeps him at the top of that tree.
I'll never forgive Johnny for Carlos De Leon fight. I'll never forgive him. I spent 40 quid that night. That were a lot of money to me at that age. I'll never forgive you, Johnny. They smuggled him out of that ring, you know, like Peter Sutcliffe, Yorkshire Ripper. The only thing missing was a blanket on his head. That's a true story, mate. Ask anybody in Sheffield. They smuggled you out of that ring, didn't they, Johnny? With a blanket on your head, a fire blanket. No, they didn't have a blanket on his head, but they should have done. It's that one boxing, that. But exciting times ahead. This is why we love this sport so much, Johnny. Did you see me, the little clip that they put in on my videos, Cameron put in? We've been bouncing up and down on bed. Cameron, I know you're watching. Leave it in longer. Don't just put it in for 2 seconds. I want you to put it on for about 30 seconds. And put writing up that says, being excited in the bubble again. Something like that. You know, we've got the little things that make all the difference when you're running a YouTube channel. You can't just put stuff out. You've got to jazz it up a bit. But do you want this video out today, Terry, or do you want it jazzing up?
Mate, I leave that up to you. You're the creative genius.
All right, then. Well, we'll jazz it up then because Rico's is out today. Here, let me just show you thumbnail for Rico's video. This is from my mate Johnny Owen at Jab Apparel. They do all the thumbnails for me now. It keeps tech bill down for us with other lot, doesn't it?
Jab Apparel.
Jab Apparel, yeah. Have you heard of them?
No, but you know.
Tracksuits and that, don't they? All stuff like that. You know I'm going to be sat here in Jab Apparel tracksuits in the next few months, don't you, kid? You can't get no money out of the shop. You've got to get goods, haven't you? You've got to clothe yourself. Let's have a look. You'll like this, Terry. Right, here we go. Now, Rico. That's all it's on, mate. Right.
Oh, God.
Frank Smith,
What,
Bean,
with the spots?
Bellew, and Eddie Earn. Hang on a minute. And me and Rico pushing them all in pram. It's called twins. Obviously, there's Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito's heads off. Put mine on Schwarzenegger and Rico on Danny DeVito.
It would work better the other way around.
Oh, thanks a lot, Terry. Cheers for that. All right, then anyway, I'm going to get off. Don't have nightmares.
All right, mate.
Well, you take care. I'll see you again.
Take care, pal.
Cheers,
Bye.
mate. Bye. Oh, that was Terry, my good pal. I better get ready now. Bit of chest and triceps I'm going to do now. Next door, I'm going to go to shop and get some milk first. But I enjoyed that with Terry. He's all right, isn't he? He's he knows what he's on with. We like to play. We like to play good cop, bad cop. You might stick this on. It's one of them tops, isn't it? Tennis top with like holes in it, isn't it? That you don't sweat as much, do you? You know what I mean? I hope it into this. Oh. Yeah, it should be all right, that. Anyone for tennis? Can't play tennis. Can play badminton, though. Plenty practice in shovel. If anybody's offended by anything that we've said on this channel today, we need to get out more. That's what I reckon. You need to get out more. Because it's only boxing talk, isn't it? That's all it is. A bit of boxing talk. So try not to be offended. All right? Because sometimes in life you just got to give an opinion, haven't you? You know what I mean? And not be insecure. I mean, why do people get so offended by somebody saying, "Oh, I think he beats you"? It's like that Robbie Barrett. Do you remember him? Who got knocked out by Ritson? I went into Steffi Bull's gym. He come up to me and he goes, "Yo, Porky, you said that Ritson knocked me out." I goes, "Well, he did he? And I had money on him to knock you out. What am I supposed to say? Am I supposed to be like Coogan on IFL and just sit there and not give an opinion, sit on the fence? Because that's no good, is it? You know what I mean? That's no good at all. So that's how I look at it anyway. So just one of them things, isn't it? We'll get some milk, but it's just one of them things. It's boxing, isn't it? It's no good getting upset about it. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if it suits me, this. I don't know if it suits me. No, I'm not going to feed me back, am I? So, I forgot what the question were now. What was the question for this one? Put this in here. First person who sends a exact answer. What was the question? Hang on, let me ask him. I forgot what question. Oh, who was the last person Who was the last person to win the clean sweep? You know, all the levels: area, English, British, Commonwealth, European, and World. I know I always bang on about the 6 levels, but this is something that when I first started with Dennis, I said, right, this boxing game, because once you blag it into a position in an office, you've got your computer and that. Right, this boxing game, this is how you've got to look at it. What fighters do you ask to fight certain fighters? So you put them into categories, don't you? You have your area category guys, your English category guys, your Commonwealth, your British, your European, and World. You're not gonna put Cash Ali in with Anthony Joshua, are you? Because Cash Ali, who's going to be here later on, Cash has won an area belt, hasn't he? But he's not won a British, has he? Joshua's the world champion, so you're not going to get a fight with Anthony Joshua, so it's no good asking, is it? So you've got to match them accordingly, and everything has to fit, doesn't it? Money, timing, if they're injured, if TV want them on. You know, they might be going on holiday, they might have put weight on, they might be out of shape, they might be depressed, they might have mental health issues. There's all sorts of things. So you make a list up, don't you? Of 10 fighters. That's a little tip for you. See, all these matchmaking, there's too many people matchmaking now. And what they're doing it from box rec. And that's how you get caught out, like Josh Warrington. They matched that off box rec, didn't they, I think? And they don't want to tell themselves that they made a mistake, but they matched him off box rec. Now, you have about 10 fighters, and you go through every fighter, you ring them all up, and you say to them, does your guy want to fight Cash Ali? That's how you do it. And you still have a plan B if you sign a fight, because you might get injured. So, Dennis had a plan B, didn't he, when Cash's fight fell through last time, and he ended up fighting. Well, we know we fought, don't we? It wasn't that good a fight for him, but he got through it and stopped him. The point I want to make is, people keep saying it's not rocket science, it isn't, but it's got to be done. It's got to be done correctly. Do you know what I mean? So that is what it is, isn't it? Yeah. We'll get some milk, and I'll come back and hit the irons. So I hope you've enjoyed the video today, me and Terry. He's a good guy, Terry. He knows his stuff, and good boxing guy. And we'll get this video sent over to Cameron, and we'll get him to put in Bean bouncing up on bed like that. We'll put Bean on, and in fact, while I remember, my memory is like a sieve. Terry interview's done. I'm going to send it over to you now. What I want Bean bouncing. At the beginning, I want intro, that purple ring thing intro, then sponsors, my sponsors, then Bean bouncing up on bed. Make sure you leave Bean bouncing up and down on the bed for about 10-15 seconds, because it'll get a gag out of it, won't it? It's only a laugh, innit? And put writing on screen that says, Bean yet again excited about being in the bubble, right? Something like that. And I want, after that, stick Joe Gallagher's thing on it as well for his gym, Joe Gallagher's Academy. Stick that on. And stick the John Fury one in it, middle of it. You know where he's, when you're a blowjob, Porky, and Dennis Hobson and me brother Peter. Stick that one in. And then on the ending, I want to stick the one where I come out and I say, you like that one, didn't you? That one with fire ending. Do fire ending and sponsors at end. All right, I'll send that over to you now. All right, you'll get it for 1 o'clock. All right, my friend, you take care. Right, that's that done. Milk, and then a bit of chest and triceps. The old Mike Mensa tricep workout. All right, peace out. Keep on trucking. Keep supporting boxing. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. What's the guy's name now? I forgot your name. You're that important to me. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 a.m. till 11 a.m. King's Boxing Retford Road, Sheffield, S13. That's where you can find me, kid. All right? You keep going on about it, don't you? Get your son down there and bring your 10 ounce gloves. All right? Peace out.